this puff pastry dessert, layered with decadent coffee-flavored pastry cream and espresso chocolate glaze, will satisfy any coffee lover's sweet tooth. You start with a sheet of puff pastry, and I like to roll some sugar in the top layer. This gives you a beautiful color and a little bit of crunch, and then this 11 by 15-inch rectangle can be cut into 3 equal rectangles. Now to bake, make sure your oven is preheated to 400 degrees. I like to just spray the baking sheet with a little bit of water. You can bake on the parchment if you like, but it works really well on a slightly damp cookie sheet. 2 will fit on one, and 1 on this one. Now to keep the pastry from kind of getting all crooked while baking, just cover with a rack like this. The puff pastry will rise just till the bottom of the rack, and it'll stay a good shape. Get this right into your 400-degree oven. 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Now for the pastry cream that fills the Napoleon. 2 cups of milk. Heat the milk with a pinch of salt, 1/4 cup of sugar, and 1 vanilla bean. You can split it, scrape it, add all those delicious vanilla bean seeds, and throw the vanilla bean in too. So let that warm up. In a large bowl, 4 large egg yolks. So you whisk these eggs with another 1/4 cup of sugar. Pastry cream is a starch-thickened cream that's used for fillings of pastries like eclairs and Napoleons. And 1/4 cup of cornstarch. Mix that in, nice and thick, and that will be added to the liquid ingredients. All right, the milk is coming to a simmer. Add 2 tablespoons of instant espresso powder, which is brewed espresso that's been dehydrated into granules. As with all other ingredients, find the best espresso powder that you can. Smells so good. Instant espresso powder won't make the greatest cup of coffee, but it is delicious added to baked goods and sweets. So that is pretty warm. I'm going to add that in little rivulets to my egg yolk mixture. This is called tempering. We want to warm the egg yolks. We don't want to cook them so that they curdle. Remove that vanilla bean. It's served its purpose. Really smells very good. So add this back to the pot, off the heat. It will start to thicken thanks to that cornstarch and eggs. Keep stirring until the mixture comes to a boil, and then cook for about 2 minutes. Okay, I would say that this is thick enough. Turn off the heat, add 2 tablespoons of room temperature butter. This makes your pastry cream shiny and adds a little bit more flavor. Now put this right through a fine sieve. It smells like coffee, and it's making me thirsty for another cup of joe. The color is a rich, dark brown. And now press a piece of plastic wrap right into the surface. This will prevent a hard skin from forming. Put this right into the refrigerator and chill for approximately 2 hours. Now for the filling and the composition of the Napoleon. 3/4 cup of heavy cream, unsweetened. This lightens the pastry cream, makes it even richer, and really does enhance the consistency of the pastry cream. Whip it till soft peaks and fold that into your chilled pastry cream. This Napoleon can be filled with a vanilla pastry cream, and you can layer raspberries, strawberries. So here's your beautiful pastry cream. Now the glaze for the top. 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. We're making a coffee glaze using 2 tablespoons of espresso. This is a nice, rich glaze. So let that melt into the cream. And about a half a cup of confectioner's sugar sprinkled right on top of the espresso cream mixture. This will add the sweetness that you need. So here is our glaze for the top of the Napoleon. So now assembling some pastry cream. You can be generous, but not overly generous with your pastry cream filling. I wouldn't go to the very, very edge because the weight of the 3 layers of puff and 2 layers of cream will kind of compress the whole thing. And your next layer. So here we have the last layer. Now I'm going to turn this upside down so that I have a more flat surface on which to glaze. Pour your coffee glaze on top. Now the pastry cream will stay in the refrigerator for a couple days. So you want this glaze to be bubbleless, and you want it to completely cover the top of your Napoleon. Once this is chilled, it will slice very nicely. And now, to further ice the cake, we have a little bit of melted chocolate. And you draw your lines of chocolate right across the whole Napoleon. And we used a semi-sweet chocolate for this. Now, what makes a Napoleon a Napoleon? This little technique. With the point of a bamboo skewer, you just draw right through, lightly, through the chocolate, wiping the tip, and you get that impressive French design. Pretty. It'll be even prettier if you go now in the opposite direction, in between. So beautiful. Have your finest little demi-tasse cups ready and serve this to your guests with your very best espresso. Better in a couple hours than tonight. Enjoy. You're going to love this recipe for mocha meringues with espresso ice cream. So it's very easy to make the meringues. 1.5 cups of superfine sugar and 2 tablespoons cornstarch. Cornstarch helps dry the meringues. So mix this in with a wire whisk. Now start your machine. It's best to make a meringue to have a good stand mixer like this with a big wire whisk. Break up the 6 large egg whites. Add a half a teaspoon of salt. As this becomes frothy, you can start to add your cornstarch and sugar mixture. What you're looking for is a silken, whipped egg white. So this will take approximately 10 minutes to get to the exact right consistency. So stay nearby and watch. And now prepare the cocoa powder, 6 tablespoons, Dutch process, and 2 teaspoons of your wonderful espresso powder. So sift this together. Eliminate the lumps, eliminate dark streaks in your final product. So now, once you've reached that nice silken consistency, and this is a silken, stiff-peaked meringue, you can either fold in your coffee and espresso mix or sprinkle it on like that and fold in quickly with the machine, and then I finish off by hand. It works pretty effectively. So you don't want to have any white left because you'll have bicolored cookies. And this should make 8 lovely ice cream sandwiches. Okay, now for the piping. On parchment paper, trace 2.5-inch circles. And so now fill a pastry bag with a large round tip. This is almost 3/4 of an inch. These will spread a little bit, but the outline really does help get approximately the same sized cookie. Pretty, right? Now make sure your oven is preheated to 300 degrees because these are going to bake for approximately 50 minutes. It's so easy to make your own ice cream at home. I don't know why more people don't do it. This is a custard-based ice cream that consists of 1 3/4 cup of whole milk, 1 3/4 cup of heavy cream, This is a good, rich coffee ice cream. 1 tablespoon of vanilla and a half a cup of brewed espresso and a half a cup of sugar. So bring this to a simmer and make sure the sugar is all dissolved. While this is heating, you can whisk 8 large egg yolks with another half a cup of sugar. And that's basically the ice cream. Once you make your custard, chill it, then put it into your electric ice cream maker. There. Now, once this reaches a simmer, you want to temper your egg yolks. So a little bit of this drizzled into your egg yolks to warm the egg yolks. You must do this to prevent curdling. And then this can be added right to the pot. Make sure you cook this until it coats the back of a wooden spoon. Have a bowl of ice on hand because you'll want to chill it before you put it into the ice cream maker. Now pour this into a sieve over a bowl just to remove any impurities. Put this in your bowl of ice and stir it until it's really lost the heat. And then cover with plastic wrap and put it into your refrigerator for 2 hours or so before you churn it. So now this wonderful espresso coffee mixture has chilled, and you put this into the chilled ice cream maker and churn. And there it goes. It'll tell you when it's ready. Wow, is that great? So 1 generous scoop right on the center of your cookie. Don't press too hard. You don't want to break that gorgeous cookie. Now remember, the next time you crave a cold treat, make these for dessert. Another delicious coffee treat is a coffee cream pie. This is a decadent, delicious end to any meal. 25 chocolate wafers. You just break them up into the bowl of a food processor. These are the bases for a cookie crust. So 25 exactly. Process these a little bit first just to get them fine. And that looks good. And add 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar and 5 tablespoons of melted butter. And a pinch of salt. Always good to add a little bit of salt to a sweet crust, savory. There, that's it. Couldn't be easier. So get all of these crumbs into your 9-inch pie plate and spread them out evenly. Very dark indeed. Now use the backs of your fingers and push the crumbs up over the rim. Once you form the crust, chill it and preheat your oven to 350 degrees and bake for just about 10 minutes. So our crust is baked. Now it's time to make the coffee custard filling. We need 3/4 of a cup of sugar in a heavy bottom saucepan, combined with, about 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt and 1/4 of a cup of cornstarch. Whisk this all together so that you eliminate any lumps, and add 2½ cups of whole milk. And just keep stirring until it's dissolved. And you can also add 2 tablespoons of your flavoring, which is, in this case, espresso powder. This dissolves so nicely in a liquid like milk. And while that's warming, in a bowl, add 4 large egg yolks. So just whisk this together. The custard is hot enough to start adding into your egg yolks. This is that same tempering, but for any custard to make sure that the egg yolks themselves don't curdle. So now that these are tempered, you can add these right back into the custard. And keep whisking, don't go away. Once this comes to a boil, cook for 2 minutes and then put through a sieve. By pressing through a sieve, you're really eliminating any lumps or impurities from the eggs. So while this is hot, add 1/4 cup of coffee liqueur. And there are many different kinds of coffee liqueur. You'll certainly have your favorite. Add that to your custard. This intensifies the flavor of the espresso. And a teaspoon of vanilla. Great combination. And 4 tablespoons of room temperature butter, which will melt into your custard and enrich it. Make sure this is room temperature before you put it into your pie crust. So here's our cooled coffee flavored custard. Slide that right into that beautiful crust. So smooth that out. Cover this with a piece of plastic wrap, just so that you don't get a skin while this is chilling in the fridge for a couple hours. It has to really set. And now for the topping for the coffee cream pie, whip 2½ cups of cold, heavy cream in a chilled bowl. Add 2 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar. You don't need too much sweet in this. And 1 teaspoon of espresso powder, just for flavor. Get that all incorporated and spoon it over your chilled pie. I like a nice moundy cream topping. Now that looks very nice. And now I have little chocolate curls that can gild the lily. And these are just beautiful little details that make this beautiful, beautiful pie even more beautiful. So if your guests are coffee lovers, they're gonna love this pie. Enjoy. Dotted throughout with flecks of finely ground espresso beans, these mouth-watering cappuccino chocolate bites pack a powerful coffee-flavored punch. Measure out your dry ingredients. All-purpose flour, 1 1/3 cups. Always dip and level. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of your own ground espresso beans. Use a coffee grinder for this particular job. Whisk those together. So there are your dry ingredients. And now cream 1 1/2 sticks of butter with 1/2 cup of confectioner's sugar. 1/2 teaspoon of fine quality vanilla. Add your dry ingredients. You want to make sure all the dry ingredients are well mixed. And that's basically it. Now this has to be chilled, so make a disc of the dough on a piece of plastic wrap. Best way to make a disc is to press it in between the plastic wrap and right into the refrigerator, at least 30 minutes. Once unwrapped from the refrigerator, let it sit at room temperature for 10 minutes. And put the dough on a piece of parchment underneath and a piece of parchment on top, and roll it out to 1/8 of an inch thick. It'll pretty much fill the area of the parchment. So roll your dough and use a 2-inch cookie cutter, round, to cut out the discs. Rolling between the parchment enables you to roll to an even thickness, or thinness, I should say, without all this sticking. And this should make approximately 48 cookies. And see how the dough is smooth and even, and don't forget to line your cookie sheet with parchment. Place all your discs right on the parchment. If you find that the dough is a little bit soft after you roll it, you can just put the whole sheet right back into the refrigerator to firm up, and then you can lift these discs very easily. Well, here are the cookies. After 10 minutes in the freezer, they are fine to move around. Now bake these in a 350-degree preheated oven until set but not browned, and that takes just about 9 minutes. Watch really, really carefully. And so now we're making a ganache filling for those delectable cookies. Ganache is made with a combination of chocolate and heavy cream. Cream is very warm, and you just pour it all over that milk chocolate. You can use a whisk or a rubber scraper and just stir, melting the chocolate. See how it looks like molten milk chocolate? That's exactly what you want it to look like. You don't want a lot of air bubbles in the ganache. And now take a piece of plastic wrap and press it right into the surface of the ganache and into the refrigerator, 4 hours overnight. So this is the ganache when it is chilled, and it's kind of dense and not as usable as if you whip it a little bit with a whisk. And then fill a pastry bag, and I have one already filled. Turn all your cookies over, by the way, not all, half, because that's what is the underside, and big difference from the underside and the top side. You want to fill the middle of the cookie, a certain amount of cream, and then sandwich. You don't want it dripping out. And these can stay chilled until you are ready to devour them. And I always like to put pressure with one hand for piping, and you always guide with your other hand. It's a good rule to follow when using the pastry bag. We're going to do one more thing to this cookie before we're done. Just giving it a little bit of definition on the top. I have some melted dark chocolate in a bag, and just go like this. I think this makes each cookie a little unique. Put these back in the fridge to chill a little bit to harden the ganache filling as well as the ganache on the top. Now, if you want, you can go this way too. And then just put that in the refrigerator, let chill, and then you're ready to serve. Well, these look like they came from your favorite pastry chef, Cappuccino Chocolate Bites. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode of Martha Bakes. Enjoy. Whisk together 1/2 cup plus 3 tablespoons all-purpose flour, 1/2 cup of cocoa powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Stir in 1 tablespoon ground coffee beans. Beat 1 stick unsalted butter until smooth. Add 1/3 cup confectioner's sugar and beat well. Add your flour mixture and beat until combined. Pat into an 8-inch round pan. Bake at 350 degrees for 25 minutes. Cut into wedges and serve.